This is a video for how to go about editing hole types and hole locations for the corner guide blocks of the Trammel toy in Fusion 360. You will notice that within the Trammel toy, only 2 corner guide blocks have holes in them, and there are issues with them that are incorrect. One thing that we need to note within the Trammel toy is that there are only certain holes that have light going through them in this picture that you will see. And each one of these holes right here is where a bolt would go through. Now we have some incorrect holes in there as far as how they're located on the Trammel toy. You will notice that these 2 holes right here have light going through them just like the actual part, but we have bolts in the wrong holes. We need the bolts to be moved and placed in these holes, and we need the dowels to go into these 2 holes. You will also notice that in the bottom right-hand corner, we should have bolts in these 2 holes, and we could possibly have incorrect sizes for the dowels in these holes. Dowels do not go all the way through the object, only the bolts do. On the opposite side of the wood part, you're going to notice that we will have hexagon bolts. There's only one place that does not have a hexagon bolt, and that's where a screw goes up through the bottom. So, in going to our Fusion 360 part, we want to take a look at the original drawing we did in a previous video about making the base, and you will notice that the dimensions are relatively the same from side to side with the exception of this one part right here. So I have oriented in Fusion 360 the Trammel toy to be oriented the same way as the drawing would be. So you'll notice that I kind of have this little skinny rectangle part over here. That's the same thing that you would see on the drawing over here on this side. We're going to go into Fusion and we're going to take a look at this part. Before I go into Fusion to look at the part, I'm going to turn off the visibility of the part itself. So I'm going to drag over it. I'm going to take away the visibility, and you're going to notice that I have this little section of mass here that when I created the video before about how to make it so there was no interference for our slide blocks, I accidentally created some mass that became part of this part. In another video, I'll show you how you can go in and how you can fix this. It's a relatively easy fix, but in going through and cutting, evidently I made 2 small skinny slivers here that I needed to fix. So I'm going to keep away the visibility of this part, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into Fusion, and what we want to do is we want to take away the visibility of the joints for these objects. So I have joints turned off right now. I'm going to turn on joints, and I'm going to flip this around a little bit to where I can actually see the corner. There we go. This is the view I want. I want to be able to zoom in here, and I want to right click on this joint, and I'm going to go to delete. And you're going to see it kind of leave and go off to the side. And I'm going to be able to come in and drag this around now. I should be able to click on this and drag it, hit escape twice here. I'm going to be able to drag this over. Same thing here. We're going to see if I can drag this out. I'm not able to. I'm going to right click on this part and I'm going to go to delete. And you're going to see it leave. Oh, it's going to, that joint turns out to be a joint for the whole entire thing. So I'm going to come down here and delete this joint. And the dowel now leaves and comes off to the side. So if by chance you accidentally moved and got rid of a constraint that was part of the wood blocks at the bottom, that's one of the issues that you'll have. So I'm going to right click here because they have the dowels and the counter bore holes as all part of the same thing, like they're on top of each other. So I'm going to delete this out, drag it off to the side, and once again I'm going to come into here and we'll see this should be the joint that I want to delete to get the dowel off the grid. Let's wait and see if that happens here. So I'll right click on this again. I'll go to delete. That should move the dowel off. It did not. Let's go up to the one up above it real quick. Let's come back. Let's hit undo a couple times. Get that joint back. Oh, there we go. We're going to go up to the one right above it. We're going to go to delete. Sometimes you have to go to a little bit of trial and error to find out which ones to get off. Remember, this was put together incorrectly. You're going to have issues with going in and trying to see things. But now we're going to go back into the part here. I'm going to turn on the visibility, and we're actually going to go into that part itself. So I'm going to have to activate it. So we're going to activate the part over here on the side. And down here at the bottom of your screen, if I can maybe move my, I'm going to move my camera view down here just a little bit and get a look at it. You're going to see that I can find the holes that were made down here. And if I just leave my mouse on them, I can find where the holes were made and how they were constructed. So there's hole, we have a sketch, we have holes, and we have sketches. So I'm going to right click on this right here, and I'm going to go to Edit Sketch. And you're going to notice that they have in place here some location dimensions for these 2 points right here. Now, if we go back to our drawing, I've gone in and changed these to be, 1.5 away from the sides. We can find different ways to change because, 4.25 minus 2.75 is 1.5. So as far as the distance from here to here, you might see 1.25. You would have to double click on this and change it to 1.5. And I'm going to hit enter. The distance from the corner to here should be 1.5 also if we go back to our drawing. 4.25 minus 2.75 is 1.5. You'll have the exact same thing here. And then we have 0.375 in from the side and down from the top. We can check our work here as well with that. Should have 0.375 in and 0.375 in from here. These are following, in essence, the same dimensions. You can see the same dimensions down here that you can see for the hole types. Now, if we go back here, we're going to notice that we have the right dimensions. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Finish Sketch. And we're going to go right back into our holes. Now, what we just saw was these 2 holes here. If I can flip this around where we have it right side up again to go along with our drawing. Remember, your view cube is your friend. We just did these 2 holes right here. Now, it looks like those are supposed to be, counter bore holes that go all the way through and meet with, but it looks like they don't have the, they don't have the hexagonal cuts and the hexagonal bolts in them. We need to fix that. So we're going to have to flip these around and we're going to have to change them to be dowel holes. So we're going to go back into our holes here. I'm going to come down here to my tray. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to Edit Feature. And we're going to change those to just drilled holes. And we need to find what the diameter of those dowel rods were. So we're going to say that those don't go all the way through. They're going to just go down to the bottom. So if I click on the word front here and I go to the side, we want to make sure they just go down to the top surface here, and they do, or they can come down into the object. And it looks like they're going to have to come down, into the object more. So I'm going to go to 2, and I want them to go to the second tray here. I want them to go down to here. So I'm going to try to get that to show up. And if I go to my side view here, you can see now these come down into the object. They're going to be our dowel rods that we place. We might have to go back and change their diameter. It says it already has a whole fit diameter placed in here. We might have to go back and change that, but we're going to trust that the diameter is right, and we're going to say OK. Now those are our dowel rods. We need to make the other holes to be counterbore holes that go all the way through and match up. And it looks like we have a counterbore hole over here. I'm not so sure we have a counterbore hole over here. So we're going to have to go down to our tray. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to Edit Feature. And this needs to be a counterbore hole. And it needs to go all the way through the object. So where it says 2, I'm going to go to 2 and I'm going to flip around and I'm going to click on the full back of the object. I want it to go all the way through. So we have 2, we have counterbore. We have this. I'm going to drag this out a little bit. It wasn't really going along with me there. And I'm going to go ahead and say OK. Wait for it to catch up with me. Looks to me now like we have our counterbore holes. We might have to go back and change the size. Let's take a look at the diameter over here. Looks like the diameter of this one right here. If I can grab a hold of Inspect here, and let's see if it'll let me inspect what the diameter of that hole is. One edge. It says the radius is 0.155. That's the edge here for the radius. So let's go back to our hole down here on the bottom. The radius is 0.155. So the diameter up here at the top, 0.155 times 2. That's our outer diameter here. We'll keep the depth the same, and I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And we were able to come back in and edit the hole. Now, these should be the same size, but it looks like one is slightly larger than the other. Let's go back to our house button here, and let's come back up and reactivate the entire assembly. Just to give you an idea of how to go in and edit these, we're going to go in now, and I'm going to go up to Joint, and I'm going to say Capture Position. And we're going to go ahead and join these together. So I want to come around the outside. Now I just want to find a way to reference the inside center here. Inside center, I'm going to try to reference the inside center of this. We're going to get that to move. We need to rotate this another direction, obviously. So it looks like I have just a point incorrect here. So maybe I need to hit escape twice and go back. Let's find another way to do this. I'm going to go to joint. I'm going to say capture position. I want to say, you know, up here on top of the object, that point right there with that point right there. Let's see if it'll go in. Yes, that's how I wanted it. You know, it came out to the side. What I should always do is I should always say one thing when I get teaching and I get moving, I forget to say, you know, we have to go, this is going to move to this. You always want to pick the one that's going to move first. And it moved into position. We're going to keep that. We're going to say okay. I'm going to do the same thing with this one right here. I'm going to go to joint. I'm going to go up on top, outside circle edge. I'm going to zoom in up here and say outside circle edge. We're going to move that into place. And I'm going to say okay, just for the sake of discussion for now. We're going to have to go in and edit the dimensions on the counterbore hole. But for now, I think you get the idea of how we're going about fixing this. We're going to go back to joint. I'm going to say this right here should move into the dowel position here. And it's moving. I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to find my other dowel. Seems to have kind of hidden on me here. I don't know where my other dowel went. It disappeared. Don't know where it went. I'm going to hit escape twice here and see if I can find it. Now there's one dowel over here. I guess they're both moving together. Seem like they're kind of moving together. Let's go to joint and see what happens here. I'm going to say capture position. I want this one right here to move in. So let's go in here to here. That one moved. Say okay. There's the other one. Joint. Zoom in from here over to here. And I'm going to say okay. Now, I think what you can tell just by where I'm just headed with how I'm doing this for this video of how I went about editing these, because now I can flip to the other side and I should be able to see that bolt now coming through the hexagon nut that's sitting there. Before that, what didn't happen, we had dowels going through there. Now we actually have the counterbore hole going through. The other side, I'm going to leave to you to fix. Follow the same principles that we used to fix the one in the top left-hand corner if I flip this around. Remember that you are given a sheet here that's going to help you when you activate the corner gold pieces on the location dimensions. After that, take a look at the physical part itself and recognize which will have hexagonal nuts on the other side and hexagon cuts in them. And then you can also tell by the light that's shining through that I have down here on the bottom. I set up an iPhone to have some light shining through. If I can show you here. I have some light shining through the bottom of one of these actual pieces. Light shining through here and here. That's going to tell us that one of your counterbore bolts are going to go through here and here. You're only going to have dowels here and here. How will you go about editing this one to make sure that it fits? One thing that you can tell is that this has a smaller diameter than this one. You're going to have to activate the block itself, and you're going to have to come down here in the tray, and you're going to have to find where you're going to edit location dimensions for the object. Let's get out of here. Let's try to find a different one here. You're going to have to come down here and you have to find location dimensions of the holes, and you're going to have to edit. So, looks to me like I turned on this one up here somehow. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to open up the other one down here. Let's go back up to the larger assembly. If that ever happens, come back up to the larger assembly. Let's find the one that I need to actually turn on here. Let's see here, this one, yes. That's the one I was trying to activate. When I come down here to the tray, try to find what you need to fix. You're going to have to go into the holes, find the holes you need to fix. So, this has been a video for how to go about editing the holes in a guide block of the Trammel toy in Fusion 360.